In an early morning interaction with the media today, the External Affairs Minister S Jaishankar emphasized that the Modi government has significantly enhanced border infrastructure in the last few years, particularly along the border with China. And unlike earlier, the Indian Army is in a better position to deploy troops and counter the Chinese military effectively in an apparent dig at the opposition. In recent years, the border between China and India has become the site of growing tensions. The Chinese aggression has sparked clashes along the mostly rugged mountainous border known as the line of actual control, and particularly since the clashes in the Galwan Valley in 2020, with Beijing and New Delhi both hardening their positions on either side of the line of actual control. However, the minister emphasized that border talks between India and China have not been halted and that both the countries have made progress on key tension points in the last 3 years. Jaishankar also highlighted projects being undertaken in neighboring nations. With Nepal, he said that the Raxaul-Kathmandu cross-border railway project was in the stage of the final location survey. Once completed, it will connect Kathmandu to India by train. While a rail link between Bhutan and Assam is also in the pipeline, which will be completed by 2026, and India hopes to conclude a coastal shipping agreement with Myanmar this year. But the Myanmar trilateral highway continues to pose a big challenge due to the law and order situation there. For more on this, Principal Diplomatic Correspondent Siddhant Sibbal is joining us live from New Delhi. And Siddhant, the Foreign Minister there categorical that there has been a border infrastructure push, but that doesn't mean that talks have been halted with China.
Well, meeting with a select group of journalists earlier today, the Indian External Affairs Minister briefed about the border infrastructure with all the neighbouring countries, but especially focused when it comes to the situation at line of actual control with China in terms of border infrastructure. 2 points he highlighted. One, of course, that the Indian government since 2014 has been focusing on how to make sure that this border infrastructure is ramped up. There are better connectivity with the region. And the second, of course, is that while China has its own points that India should not develop infrastructure, China continues to develop its infrastructure on its side of line of actual control, and India is in no way going to come under pressure that India is going to stop the infrastructure project. So that project continues when it comes to border areas, whether it's Arunachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand, or whether it is Ladakh as well. But essentially, he underscored that how this better the infrastructure development of the border areas has helped in the better deployment of Indian forces, and they are able to counter the Chinese movement as well. Relationship between the two countries have fallen since the Galwan incident of 2020, and now the big focus remains on whether there will be a meeting between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Chinese President Xi Jinping when they will be going to South Africa later this month to attend the BRICS summit.
Right, Siddhant, thanks very much indeed for joining us with the very latest on what the Foreign Minister had to say in this interaction with the media.